There is a kind of grief that has no funeral, no flowers, no casseroles dropped off at the door, no one sitting with you in the dark saying, "I'm so sorry for your loss." Just a silence where someone used to be, a chair at a table that nobody sits in anymore, a name you say quietly to yourself sometimes, in the car, in the garden, in the space between waking and sleep, just to make sure you still remember how it sounds. My grandson's name is Daniel. He was 2 years old the last time I held him. He smelled like baby shampoo and graham crackers. And he had this habit, this small, perfect habit, of grabbing your finger with both his hands and holding on like he had no intention of letting go. He is 9 years old now. And for 7 of those years, I did not know where he was. My name is Robert Calloway. I am 64 years old. I live alone in a house that used to be louder. I have a workshop in the back where I build things out of wood. Birdhouses mostly. Small, careful things that take patience and steady hands and give you somewhere to put your attention when your mind starts going places you don't want it to go. I want to tell you something before we go any further. This is not a story about anger. I want to be clear about that from the beginning, because I know how these stories can sound, and I know what you might be expecting. This is not a story about a bitter old man who wants to settle scores. This is a story about 7 years of silence, and 1 phone call, and what happened after.
My son Marcus married Claire Dutton in the summer of 2012. I will be fair to Claire, the way I have always tried to be fair to people, even people who have made fairness very difficult. She was sharp, ambitious, the kind of woman who walked into a room and immediately understood its geometry. She loved Marcus. I believe that, in the beginning. And in the beginning, Marcus loved her the way young men love when they haven't yet learned the difference between intensity and stability. Daniel was born in 2016. I was in that waiting room for 11 hours. 11 hours of bad coffee and a television mounted too high on the wall, showing news I couldn't focus on. And then, Marcus came through those doors, with his eyes red and his face cracked open with something I recognized immediately because I had worn it myself 29 years earlier when he was born. Dad, he's here. He's perfect. I held that baby on the second day and I made him a promise I didn't say out loud because the important promises never need to be spoken. I am here, whatever comes. I am not going anywhere. I did not know then what coming meant. Marcus and Claire's marriage lasted 4 years past Daniel's birth. What went wrong between them is their story to tell, not mine. What I will tell you is that by the time the divorce proceedings began in 2019, what had started as two people...
The custody arrangement, when it was finalized, gave Marcus alternating weekends and Wednesday evenings. That gave me Daniel on those weekends. Saturdays in my workshop, his small hands pressing too hard on the wood, his questions arriving faster than I could answer them. "Grandpa, why does wood have lines in it? Grandpa, what happens if you put the wrong nail? Grandpa, can we make something for Mom?" We made her a small wooden jewelry box, sanded smooth, a simple latch, his initials carved on the bottom corner because he insisted. I don't know if she ever received it. Because 8 months after the divorce was finalized, Claire remarried. His name was Trevor Paulson. I will tell you only what is relevant. He was 41, successful, certain of himself in the specific way of men who have never been seriously challenged. And within 6 weeks of the wedding, Marcus received a notification from Claire's attorney. She was filing for full custody. The reason cited was a change in family circumstances. Trevor Paulson wanted to adopt Daniel, to become, legally, officially, on paper, his father. Marcus fought it. Of course he fought it. He spent 14 months and everything he had fighting it, and I stood beside him every step of the way,
quietly, financially, every way I could without making it worse by making it about me. He lost. I want to say that plainly, without softening it, because it deserves to be said plainly. The court ruled in Claire's favor. Full custody. Trevor Paulson began adoption proceedings. And as part of the arrangement, as part of the new structure of Daniel's life, contact with Marcus's side of the family was, in the language of the legal documents, to be managed at the custodial parent's discretion. Managed at the custodial parent's discretion.
7 years is a long time to wait for something you don't know is coming. I tried in the beginning. Cards at Christmas, at birthdays, sent to Claire's address through Marcus, not demanding anything, not making anything harder than it already was. Just small, quiet signals into the silence. I am still here. I have not forgotten. The door is open. I don't know if any of them reached him. Marcus rebuilt slowly, the way good men do after something breaks them. He moved 2 states away for work. We talked every Sunday. We didn't talk about Daniel often, not because we had forgotten, but because some things are too heavy to carry out into the open air every single week. You learn to set them down somewhere safe inside yourself and walk around them carefully. I kept building birdhouses. My neighbor Janet, who has lived next door for 19 years and knows me better than most, once stood at my workshop door on a Saturday afternoon and watched me work for a while without saying anything. Then she said quietly, "You're still waiting for him, aren't you?" I kept sanding. "Yes," I said. "I am." She nodded. She went back inside. She never brought it up again, and I have always been grateful for that. If this story is reaching you, do us one favor. Hit subscribe. It costs you nothing, and it means more than you know. The call came on a Tuesday morning in March. I was in the kitchen, coffee in hand, the same black coffee I have made the same way every morning for 40 years. It was 7:14 a.m. I know because I looked at the clock when the phone rang. The way you look at clocks at unexpected moments, as if the time itself might explain something. The number was one I didn't recognize. Area code I didn't know. I almost didn't answer. I answered. "Mr. Calloway?" A woman's voice. Professional. Careful. With something underneath the professionalism that I recognized immediately as controlled urgency. "My name is Dr. Anita Reeves. I'm calling from St. Mercy Children's Hospital." I set my coffee down. "I'm calling regarding a patient, a minor. The family listed you as an emergency contact." The family listed me? 7 years of silence. 7 years of Christmas cards sent into the void. 7 years of a stuffed elephant named Elephant and a red jacket and a driveway wave. And somewhere, in some document, in some record, in some place I had never seen and never known about, my name. "Mr. Calloway, are you there?" "Yes," I said. "I'm here. Tell me." Daniel was 9 years old, and he had collapsed at school 2 days earlier. A cardiac episode. Rare. Frightening. I don't know what I expected when I walked into that hospital. I don't know what Claire expected either, when she looked up from the chair outside the pediatric cardiac unit and saw me coming down the corridor in my jacket, still carrying the coffee I had forgotten I was holding, 6 hours of highway behind me. She looked older, not in a cruel way, just in the way that 7 years looks on a person when those years have not all been easy. Trevor Paulson was not there. I noted that without comment. We looked at each other for a long moment. "He asked for you," she said. Her voice was quiet. Not defeated, not apologetic, just quiet. The way voices get when something has moved through a person and rearranged things. 2 nights ago, when he was scared, he asked if his grandpa who builds birdhouses was coming. I had to look away for a moment. "He remembers," I said. "He remembers," she said. She stood up.
and she opened the door.
He was small in that hospital bed. All children are small in hospital beds. It is one of the cruelest optical tricks in the world. But he was 9 years old, and his face still had that particular quality of his father's face at that age. The same jaw, the same way of holding his mouth when he was thinking. He looked at me from across the room. And then something happened that I was not prepared for, that I am not sure any amount of preparation would have helped with. He smiled. Not a careful smile, not a polite smile, not the smile of a child meeting a stranger. The full, immediate, total smile of someone seeing a face they know, a face they have kept somewhere safe and warm inside themselves for 9 years, without quite knowing why. "Grandpa," he said, "you came." I crossed that room in 4 steps. I sat on the edge of his bed, and I took both his hands in mine, and he held on, the way he used to hold on when he was 2 years old, with both hands, like he had no intention of letting go. "I came," I said. "I'm here." I did not say, "I've always been here." I did not say, "You have no idea how long I've been waiting." I did not say any of the things I had carried inside me for 7 years, because none of them were what that moment needed. What that moment needed was exactly what it had. A boy, a grandfather, 2 hands. Daniel was discharged 11 days later. In those 11 days, I did not leave that city. I slept in a hotel 4 blocks from the hospital, and I came every morning and stayed until visiting hours ended, and I went back and I came again. We talked about everything and nothing. His favorite books, a series about a kid who discovers he can talk to animals, which he explained to me in considerable detail. A project he was doing at school on ancient Egypt. The birdhouses. He wanted to know everything about the birdhouses. I promised him we would build one together. He told me he wanted to make it blue. "Why blue?" I asked. "Because birds like blue," he said, with the complete authority of a 9-year-old who has decided something is true. "Then blue it is," I said. Claire and I spoke 3 times in those 11 days. Not long conversations, not easy conversations, but honest ones. The way conversations get when something important has stripped away the space for anything else. She did not apologize, not in words, but she said something on the 3rd day, standing in the hospital corridor with her coffee, that I have carried with me since. "He talked about you," she said. "More than I realized, more than I let myself hear." I nodded. I looked at my cup. "I know you love him," she said. "I always knew that." We worked out an arrangement, not through lawyers this time, not through documents and fiduciary language and custody frameworks, just 2 people deciding quietly and without ceremony that a child deserved to have his grandfather in his life. The first weekend he came to stay, we built the birdhouse. Blue, exactly as specified. We hung it in the oak tree at the back of the garden on a Sunday afternoon, and Daniel stood back and looked at it with his hands on his hips, the way his father used to stand, the way I still stand, and he said very seriously, "I think the birds are going to love it." "I think so too," I said. We went inside. I made hot chocolate. We sat at the kitchen table, the table that used to be louder, and it was loud again, filled with a 9-year-old's questions and opinions, and the particular magnificent noise of a child who has decided you are safe. I looked at him across that table. 7 years. 7 years of birdhouses and Sunday phone calls and Christmas cards sent into the silence. 7 years of keeping a door open that I could not see from my side. He had always known where the door was. He just needed someone to finally... Some separations are not the end of the story. Sometimes they are just the long middle, the part you have to live through to get to what comes next. My grandson is 9 years old, and he likes blue birdhouses and books about children who talk to animals and hot chocolate with exactly 3 marshmallows. Not 2, not 4, 3. I know this now. I plan to know everything else. If this story moved you, please like and subscribe. There are more stories coming. Real ones. Raw ones. The kind that remind you that the people who hold on quietly are often the ones who end up holding everything.
I'll see you in the next one.